Welcome back to Cardmarket's YouTube channel. We're here for the final round of the Cardmarket coverage. If you're only joining now, why haven't you watched the first 3 matches? Like, it's all premium paper gameplay of Modern. But before we get into the match, let me introduce my co-commentator. It's Toffel, it's the Mythic Champion.
Surprise, nobody else.
Yeah, we didn't bring in a special commentator for the fourth round after having the first 3 commentated by us. But before we get into the game, as always, Carl is threatening me to fire me or something if I don't mention to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So please do. If you're not yet, we are like very close to 20,000 subscribers. Maybe we've already passed it. But with that being said, let's get into the games. All right, final round. Kanister so far 3-0.
Pretty much the last finale, right? Winner wins the tournament.
Winner takes it all.
the best you can hope for.
Yeah, 4 rounds going 4 is the best you can hope for, and no easy competition for Kanister either. First 2 rounds against Death Shadows decks, 3rd round against Elementals, which is like the deck of Modern, and now if you want to put another deck up for consideration for the deck of Modern, it must be Izzet Murktide, which he's facing right now.
Yeah, it's basically like Death Shadow, like the game's how Death Shadow played out, only that they're better suited for the control game because they don't have the Death Shadows.
Yeah. So Kanister on the play, facing Felix with no 1-drop, so no Ragavan, no Dragon's Rage Channeler here. And once again, we see Kanister pondering.
Look at that.
Yeah.
You laughed about it when I said it last time. But look who's laughing now. Kanister, because he made the token.
Kanister.
Oh, he doesn't make a token.
He doesn't make the token. He instead just advances his game plan.
Wait, he could have played Explore.
He could have played Explorer off the Growth Chamber.
Why didn't he play Explorer? It's a basic concept of the game. Because he needs the bounce land in his hand for next turn.
And there's no other lands to play?
I think he only has this one.
Oh, I see. All right.
So yeah, the one thing you really don't want to do is like empty yourself of bounce lands.
Yeah, because then suddenly your Amulet becomes much worse. Or rather, yeah, I guess the Amulet does become way worse. End of turn fetch down to 19 from Felix, heading into his 2nd turn.
And now, actually, it's kind of problematic because we know that there's no 1-drop. I mean, your opponent also quite knows because he didn't play anything. The deck is not really rich of having great 2-mana spells. You're certainly not playing just Iteration.
And you're certainly also not getting rid of the Dryad because what are you going to do, Lightning Bolt it?
Yeah, so you're kind of displaying Counterspell more than the one person that when you ask them if they have Counterspell, it's like, you have Counterspell.
All right, 3rd turn. This is the turn where Kanister suffers from the mana setback from Urza's Saga, so that one will go very soon. Remains to be seen what the Saga will get, but of course he's floating the 1 mana. As this thing triggers in the main phase, you were able to float the mana to cast any sorcery speed spell. Right.
How about a time stretch? You said any.
Yeah, you can spend mana on time stretch.
Feel like empty promises here.
This game promises to be a bit more combo-y than the other games. Not only because there's 2 amulets in play, also because Kanister doesn't really have additional lands in his hand apparently. So he kind of has to rely on the fast combo rather than the game plan of, I'll just make my land drops, see what happens, because there's no land drops to be made.
To be fair, you kind of still make like 6 mana per turn.
You do.
If you have a bounce land.
You do. Does Kanister have another bounce land in his hand? Do we know?
I assume not. Is something happening after the attack? Because a go would be very suspicious. Yeah,
There is another bounce land.
one more growth chamber.
And there also is one more land drop remaining because Dryad of the Elsen Grove does allow you to play another land. And then there's also that Explorer, which just adds another 2 mana.
Well, Explorer is just free. Like, +2.
It's just free, +2, yeah, it is.
So did we... we couldn't play a land because like that doesn't add to the number of lands we have in play. But I'm kind of wondering what now the goal is to cast your spells.
Yeah, because if Felix does have Counterspell this turn, he's also going to have Counterspell next turn. That's almost guaranteed. Like, you don't... Unless he, I don't know, throws away his cards.
And you don't want to give them infinite time, so you kind of want to do stuff. So why is Explorer not being played is the question. Just maybe you find a different land, maybe you find a Titan, a Cavern of Souls.
Yeah, anything, like there are a lot of things you could pick up off the Explorer that would be very valuable, like a Cavern of Souls, like you said, another Titan, stuff like that. But now there's a threat in play with Counterspell in hand, and Felix is already halfway there to Delirium. That's a Cultivator Colossus.
Still a very, very expensive spell that just gets countered. All right.
So are we pulling the trigger now? I guess Kanister does have a lot more mana this turn by, having his natural land drop. Right now there's 4 mana floating, down to 2.
Maybe the actual reason is to just generate 12 mana?
To double spell.
That's crazy, but yeah.
It must be, and there even is the second Titan, if I'm not mistaken.
So now you added 4, you pay 2 your 2.
So down to 2.
And you have 2 more land drops. All right? So that gets you to 10 plus 2 is 12. Right? So Titan number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Titan number 1.
I'm still counting if it's 10 or 12. I think I miscounted and now I'm just lost.
So you played it, it made 4.
Yeah.
You spent 2.
Go down to 2.
You play it again, it makes 4.
Yeah. Up to 6.
Then you play the land again, it makes 4.
Up to 10.
And
plus
then you tap the 2 from the
plus 2 makes 12. You are correct, Toffel.
2 plus 2 is 12.
2 plus 2 is 12. I mean, you're the master of doing 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 7.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Good times.
So... what Felix doesn't know is that there's a second Titan coming, so right now it's still looking good with the counterspell. If you don't draw Cavern of Souls, just create 12 mana.
23,
No worries.
This one is countered, right? Wait, why do you say this one? Nah, no,
Don't worry about it.
No reason. Don't worry about it.
Also, this is turn 4, not turn 3. As Kanister was on the play.
Yeah, but it's his turn 3.
Yeah, true.
Okay. And now you can do the whoops. I can also attack with this trick.
Yep.
That we'll learn from. Probably getting Valakut and the Battlements.
Yeah, Valakut plus Battlements seems very reasonable.
Then you attack, get 2 more.
Yeah, just getting another Valakut is not enough because I don't think you have...
You can even cast the Colossus, right? Can't you just cast the Colossus now?
I mean, it's main phase, yeah, you can... If you get 2 bounce lands or something.
Can you play another land?
Oh yeah, right, you can't replay them. But 2 bounce lands would have been 8 mana, so that would have been the Colossus. But as it stands, it's 6 mana available. Okay, never mind. Another...
So now you get a Azusa.
Yeah, Azusa just lets you do infinite mana with the bounce lands. But once again, Kanister not attacking with the Primeval Titan right away? Wait, getting another Titan.
Yeah, you can now attack with both because they got untapped twice.
Oh yeah, there is exactly 6 mana floating, of course. So now, yeah, you get to attack with both. Wild. And with Valakut in play, Primeval Titans deal 12 damage. And then... I
mean...
Valakut does the rest.
This is probably enough.
It is. Actually, certainly is enough, as a second Valakut can even just go crazy. 4 lands, that's enough. Vesuva even copying Valakut, so that's 3 Valakut each triggering twice. Makes 6 triggers, 18 damage if I'm not mistaken, and that's game 1. Holy moly, that was turn 4.
No, only that was needed was 12 mana on turn 4.
Yeah, just do it like Kanister and create 12 mana on turn 4.
By the way, if you're interested in the tournament breakdown, we had 53 people playing this Monday Modern Magic. Is it this? Very good. None of the decks succeeded more than 10%. We had Boros Burn, 4 color elementals. We saw one of those on camera last round.
Both sitting at 10%.
Yeah, Amulet on Titan 7, so there are other Brainiacs playing the deck. Not bad. Death Shadow 7, Hammer Time 5%. One of my favorite decks, I have to say.
Yeah, Hammer Time sharing the spot of 5% with Golgari, like the Yawgmoth combo deck. Izzet Murktide and Blue-White Control and Spirits. A deck that, is kind of always flying under the radar. I mean, yeah.
Spirits. So those were the decks that had like 5% or more, which only adds up to how many percent?
Wow, yeah, fun question.
Yeah.
Probably like 20, 34, 54. 54?
Correct.
Nice.
Very good.
Oh.
So that means almost half the field is playing something else.
I mean, it's Modern after all. Modern will always be diverse. It will always have a diverse metagame going on with, everyone just kind of playing their pet deck, the deck they're best with, because Modern, as always,
is great.
Does reward you for knowing your deck well.
Also, wait, I just heard from my producer. Yeah, sorry, you were wrong. It's 59.
Oh no, I missed one of the 5% decks.
Yeah, it was 5%.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, let's get back to the game. We see a turn 2 Dragon's Rage Channeler after a turn 1 Mishra's Bauble. Once again, Piotr being off to a great start with Arboreal Grazer. So now Piotr already has 4 mana worth of lands in play on turn 2, while Felix sitting there with a 1/1 and 2 lands.
And potential and the dream. Most
True.
importantly, the dream.
That being said, Spell Pierce really not great because all the non-creature spells in Kanister's deck cost very little.
Yeah, I wonder why it's specifically an unplay turn 1 action. Kind of funky, I have to say.
Now here's
you want to Spell Pierce that?
Here's an opportunity to Spell Pierce something to get an instant into your graveyard, Surveil maybe. I don't hate it to kind of constrain the mana this turn, but at the same time, it really doesn't feel good.
Yeah, no.
Oh, do you know what we're missing? Like, not missing necessarily, but there's a Blood Moon hiding out in Felix's hand. So maybe that was the reason for a rather slow keep on his side. Oh, and this is the point where Felix wants to counter something because Amulet signals quite a spicy turn, and that's straight up eating a counter spell. So now Felix did manage to get an instant into his graveyard. Surveilling with the Dragon's Rage Channeler might put another card type into the graveyard, but it doesn't. Felix decides to keep the card on top.
And you know what that means?
Most likely a 3rd land, I assume.
It's just a land.
Yeah, it's a land for the Blood Moon.
But to be fair, the solution for Blood Moon is already there. Because Kanister has a Summoning Pact. And maybe you can get just some form of tracker to play a different game.
Yeah, you don't play the land game anymore. Felix also not super comfortable with the Blood Moon. I see an Archmage's Charm in his hand, which, gets super shut off by the Blood Moon. Also taking a bunch of damage off of his own lands, but not super relevant against Titan, but we've seen it become relevant. And with that Archmage's Charm in hand, Felix decides, maybe I don't want to cut into my own flesh that much. I'd rather keep up Counterspell.
Also, Blood Moon is kind of really awkward with the Dryad. The way, so again, if you have fun with lawyers.
Layers.
No, it's lawyers.
Oh, it's lawyers.
It's my lawyer song. So, when you play Blood Moon, it changes the types. but also the dry changes the types. So if I remember correctly, the one that played last actually happens because the Blood Moon rides over the Dryad. So that means everything is mountains. But as soon as you play another Dryad after, you still have access to everything again.
Nice. Great rules interactions left and right. As we see a Summoner's Pact countered by Counterspell. Maybe afraid of Cavern of Souls in hand? Because otherwise it would obviously be better to counter the Titan on its way onto the battlefield. As it stands, Vesuva copying Sulfur Faults? No.
Fiery Islet.
Fiery Islet to cycle presumably next turn.
Interesting. That kind of tells you a little bit of the desperation, because if your opponent chooses to take a land that you need to sacrifice in their Land Matters deck.
And I mean, if your opponent's desperate, this is the time to slam Blood Moon, isn't it? Like, my opponent's desperate for draws, Blood Moon instantly denies that draw and denies so much more. Of course, you're then vulnerable to a top-decked Titan. Oh no, never mind, you're not. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
What do you have a Verdant Catacombs for? Just for fun? Is there a reason why you want to shuffle your library? Interesting.
Good question. All right, not deploying the Blood Moon here. I'm not a big fan of that, but I mean, yes, not deploying the Blood Moon, deploying the Blood Moon leaves you empty to a top-decked Titan, but at the same time, I think that's just a risk you will have to take at some point. Although, now you could have fetched another basic island. I'm not so certain. And slowly but surely, the Dryad beatdown is getting kind of dangerous. Like, all right, you're down to 10. The Fiery Islet deals 1 to you every turn. The Scalding Tarn deals 1 to you now and then. Actually, you're not down to 10. Apparently, Felix is still at 12. You could.
I kind of would like to see just cast the Brazen Borrower.
Yeah.
And then just swing back. If you want to play the draw-go game, why don't you just make it to the point where you actually deal a lot of damage? Unholy Heat does not have Delirium as of now.
Felix decides to go for the Delirium, right? Scalding Tarn being cracked. I hope there will be a basic island here. As, you know, you have boarded in Blood Moon, so let's make it work. I also wouldn't have hated drawing cards with Archmage's Charm, but that's a line that is very much dependent on playing Blood Moon, because if you don't play Blood Moon, you probably want to keep the Charm in hand.
Yeah, Charm is kind of the only insurance you have for now.
Yeah. Yeah, so Brazen Borrower would have been fun to start putting on a clock. Race Brazen Borrower against Dryad of the Ilsen Grove.
And then you can lay back and give it a little bit more time, because you're doing 3 damage compared to your opponent's 2. So even in this state, you would actually win the race. Oh, consider's big.
Yep. Consider, hopefully, or at least, you know, it gives Felix a glimpse at enabling Delirium. At the same time, I'm not sure if there's another land in hand.
No, but you can like look for it. The Channeler, if you want to put something back. That's not Delirium. You already have a bubble. Need a creature, sorcery, enchantment, tribal.
Yeah. Tribal. You could also put a dungeon into your graveyard. It's a card type. Read up on your magic knowledge, Toffel, because dungeon is a card type. No, however, dungeons are not cards. Is that fun?
It's fun. It's very fun.
All right, another consider.
The amount of fun. Still.
No sorcery or creature. Unholy Heat bottom. Steam Vents bottom.
But now he kind of like dragged into a corner, because now you don't have anything up.
Yeah, now you're just. Yeah.
It's like you panicked, and then all of a sudden you spend all your mana. And then you wonder where that bucket of mana has gone.
Yeah, it's just gone. You could, if you really want Delirium, you can Unholy Heat your own Channeler. You would have Delirium afterwards. Don't look at me like that, Tommy. You would have delirium afterwards.
The good part, if you hit delirium with the Chandler,
Yeah.
it still does.
It still does, yeah. All right. After Felix has spun a lot of wheels, kind of doing nothing, not finding anything.
That was very sad.
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate series of draws. Like any creature on top of his library would have enabled him to put on pressure. It's now Kanister's turn to do not nothing, but a bunch of stuff because that's a top deck Titan.
It's very good to top deck it when your opponent just accidentally happened to not do anything.
Yeah, and I mean, Blood Moon wouldn't have prevented the Titan, so...
At least for now would have, because there's only 5 lands.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, the Vesuva gets sacrificed to cycle earlier. Yeah, I mean, Blood Moon wouldn't have prevented Titan itself. Blood Moon, however, would have prevented the effectiveness of the Titan, grabbing a bunch of lands. But not all hope is lost, I would say. The Valaku enters the battlefield. Of course, it's enabled by the Dryad. But as soon as Felix hits Delirium, there are 2 Unholy Heats hiding out in his hand that can clean up the board. And there's no way for Kanister to currently grant haste to the Primeval Titan.
Ooh, Cavern of Souls.
Cavern of Souls, letting Felix... Never mind. How's that the game? Did I miss something? Oh, Felix... Was that enough Valaku triggers?
Maybe. Was he down? So the Dryad got him to like 10 or something. Yeah, and then Primeval Titan did 2 more. Like 2 triggers more.
Okay.
Pretty good.
I apologize for a sloppy commentary.
It's not sloppy. No.
All right. Something we haven't told you about is that we had a backup match for all of our matches that we covered so far, but the backup match already always finished before our main match. So in this case, we get to watch Game 3 as, you know, kind of a little treat between 2 more 3-0 players. Both of these players are currently 3-0.
And here we see Burn.
Yeah. Versus
another blue-red Murktide, I think.
Yeah, I think it's... I agree.
We saw Giganta, the companion from round 1. And attack.
19 both. As Gam heads into his first turn. He's on the draw, yeah.
That's another Grixis Death Shadow.
Okay, yeah, it's another Grixis Death Shadow. I was about to say, because the Murktide decks usually don't play Giganta because, well, you can't have the double mana pips in your deck. So it's Grixis Death Shadow, not Murktide or blue-red anything. And we've talked about Death Shadow versus Burn a bit, right? Like we've touched on it during round 1 or 2, because it's always a very interesting dance between managing your life total and managing your opponent's burn spells. Also from the burn side of things, it's kind of intense to play because you kind of want to leave your spells in your hand and then fire them all off in a great firework of 3 damage spells, because otherwise your opponent can, you know, draw an advantage of being at a low life total.
Yeah, and it's really hard to assess how much they have left in their hand, because you kind of want to get down to 13. So the good part is most of the damage you don't have to do yourself.
Yeah.
But then the bad part is most of your deck kind of makes you still take damage. All your fetch lands, your shock lands, your any lands, your Thoughtseizes, your Street Wraithers, and whatever you place, right?
Yeah, and this does not bode well for the Death Shadow deck here, because as far as I can see, there's no second land. And with Guillaume already going down to 11 life, that's just a quick game here. Unless Burn just completely bricks on all their spells.
It looks like they don't have lands.
Yeah. This is not looking good, especially since I see Skewer the Critics and Riftbolt, and the Monastery Swift Spear will not get blocked, I assume, because there's no Delirium. So
1, 2,
Spectacle
3.
is active.
Yeah.
Cardgame down to 10. Double Rift Bolt suspended. You're down to 4 vertical, in theory.
Yeah, there we have it. A shock land.
And that might just be an early downfall of the Grixis Death Shadow deck, because you can't really afford to deal more damage to yourself here with your lands, can you?
No. It's like your opponent still has 3 cards after you went to 4.
Yeah.
Like it's not the point where you say like, oh, also that Swift Spear is gonna grow twice at least.
Yeah.
Your opponent showed the ability of not playing lands, which is also not something they probably would do if.
Yeah, they're not bluffing not having lands, right?
This is all very dicey.
Yeah, you can deploy a second Dragon's Rage Channeler, but that one, basically chump blocks.
But then you still don't have the.
Yeah. What do you keep the mana open for?
Unholy Heat, I think.
Maybe. Alright, first trigger of the Swift Spear. Second trigger of the Swift Spear, no. Alright, yeah.
So it's
Spell Pierce goes through, counters one of the spells, alright.
So now it is actually Delirium time, but that's probably not good enough as this Chandra is probably forced to block.
Yeah, Channeler has to block. Skewer the Critic takes out the Dragon's Rage Channeler, which of course deals more damage.
That's 4, and that's another 4.
And that's enough. And wow, that was a very quick downfall for the Grixis Death Shadow deck here.
Yeah, burn.
Yeah. And that concludes our coverage of the MMM event. We saw 4 rounds of Amulet Titan and 1 very quick exit of Grixis Death Shadow. So both Burn went 4-0 and also Amulet Titan in the hands of Kanister. Who could have expected?
Our
Kanister.
hero.
Yeah, our hero Kanister also went 4-0. If you like this kind of content, the kind of paper coverage going on with, pro players and me commentating stuff, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because that really helps us show, the company and everyone else that you like this content, and it helps us produce this content more easily and do more of it. In the meantime, both of us will probably see you in the next video.